you've got a very socially awkward, magical protagonist who waves a wand, has companions, has no plans, but rescues everyone at the end of the movie. It's Doctor Who. What did we just watch? What did we just watch?
Hi, I'm Kit. This is Vernon.
And we just watched Fantastic Beasts 2, The Crimes of Grindelwald.
What did we watch?
Good question. What on earth did we actually watch?
You're asking me? Okay.
From your recollection of what...
We watched the Harry Potter.
Right, even though this is a prequel set, I don't know, like 50 years before the Harry Potter series, this is basically Harry Potter all over again.
Yeah, and actually, I haven't seen the first movie, and I've only seen the trailers, and I thought this was like more like X-Men, where each movie is like more complete in itself. They just have some new bad guy to...
No, it's the same bad guy from the first movie. It's always been Hitler.
It's not just...
It's always been Hitler.
It's not just so... I was expecting more...
More Hitler? Okay, for me, the Newt Scamander series is basically... Newt Scamander goes around Europe and America collecting Pokemon.
But he doesn't power up, does he?
He doesn't power up. He doesn't need to. He has no plans either. When he gets in a pickle, he has no plan, but he gets out of it thanks to his Pokemon. That's A story. The B story is...
That's the B story.
No, that's a A story. For J.K. Rowling, that's A story here.
Okay.
That's why there's so much of exposition and so much of needless details about the Fantastic Beasts that Newt Scamander collects along the way in his journeys. The B story is, as usual, in all J.K. Rowling stories, the villain is Hitler, and they must stop Hitler.
My complaint is more that there's not much narrative drive, because they're just filling in the backstories of so many subsidiary characters.
Right, then that's the problem for me, is that there is actually no story at all.
Yeah, so they're not like really much chasing the bad guy. There are even a lot of flashbacks.
Which don't amount to much.
At least Lost was interesting when they introduced the characters and then they put in the side stories. It was like, oh, so poor thing, you know, they this real sob story behind it. So it was really engaging in that way, and they were also very heroic. So it seemed like they were doing a kind of Lost thing, but it just wasn't very interesting. Then it does take a while for you to care about them. I did a bit, but not too much.
Trust me when I say this, even if you watch a first movie, it still takes a bit of time for you to care about these characters in the second movie.
I was actually thinking of John Wick and the Continental Hotel when I saw. A lot of the interest of it was they had this like parallel underground assassin support network of like people for hire, cleanup crews. The Intercontinental Hotel was like a safe haven, and they had their special gold coin currency. So you really felt like it was this kind of like shadow parallel world, which this kind of Fantastic Beasts, their kind of wizarding world, I think they tried to be, but
as well as in the Harry Potter series, you know, the entire Harry Potter series before this tried to sell us the idea that there's this parallel universe full of people just like us, but they've got magic and wands and spells.
They kind of
Did it not work for you?
Harry Potter managed to sell it a bit better.
For me, I think the film didn't work because of its characters. For all good movies, there's an A plot and a B plot. And this movie has a C plot. But the C plot is what the movie's dramatic arc really lies in. The C plot is basically Credence Barebones, who actually survived the events of the first Fantastic Beasts movie, reappears in Europe, and somehow Hitler wants to recruit him. And the good guys want to kill him off. And Newt Scamander says, leave me out of this, I just want to collect my Pokemon. In a normal movie with a normal plot, with a normal script writer, that would actually be the A plot. You've got a conflicted individual and a conflicted character who's full of self-loathing and hate and maybe a little bit of hope, trying to find out and solve the mystery. Who is he?
Oh my
What
God.
is his destiny?
He's Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah, he is, and he's as whiny as Anakin Skywalker. But now, did Anakin Skywalker have his cheekbones? Ezra Miller's character ends up being where the dramatic tension is, or the dramatic characters are.
Yeah, they should have made that clear from the start, but there were just too many characters.
Whereas in fact, Newt Scamander is always the outside. It was tangentially related to the events.
Talking about the lack of a sense of awe, right? It starts off with this flying
Heist. It starts with a prison escape by Johnny Depp
in a flying
as Hitler.
stagecoach, and it was just. I was so underwhelmed. I mean, looking at it, I felt like I should have been awed by it. I mean, you've got flying.
Well, why didn't it work for
I
you?
don't know.
It's an
I
action
don't know.
scene. It's a chase sequence. There's a stagecoach in the sky. So people flying over and falling off and falling down from the stagecoach, which also gets flooded somehow. It flies and gets flooded, and
they dipped into the water.
yeah, I know. So I mean, there's a lot happening in that scene. Why did it not work?
I don't know.
Was it the editing?
I think it was just the visualization partly. There's just something missing, and
Something missing is what I call how to frame and compose a scene properly. If you watch Mad Max Fury Road, there's a lot of chase sequences involving all sorts of automobiles, and it worked because there's a sense of perspective, there's a sense of size, things are properly composited
or even
and composed.
even very simple things like when the vehicles were veering off already near the start, and then they fired some flares, some colored flares into the air, and it was just a beautiful shot. And
That is something that's totally missing from the only real action scene in this movie.
unfortunately, I'm not.
It lacks visual flair, it lacks visual competence, to be honest. I mean, there's a lot you can do with expensive CGI these days, and to be frank, CGI is really cheap these days, and it's just a little disappointing.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not skilled enough to actually know what went wrong and how to fix it. I just know that I didn't feel.
Storyboarding went wrong, really. Storyboarding went wrong. David Yates' directorial debut in the Harry Potter series was shot like a TV movie. Would you watch it again?
I might put it on in the background, and if there's some nice special effects, I might take a look at it, but that's about it.
I wouldn't mind watching it again, just to see how David Yates still continues to be a slightly better filmmaker every time he makes a Harry Potter movie, without really being a full-fledged filmmaker.
Okay.
So thumbs up, thumbs down for you, Sideways.
It's missable. It's very missable. If you don't watch it, you're not missing anything. So, if you're a Harry Potter fan, go ahead. If you're not, it's no big deal.
For me, it is a lot more missable than the first Fantastic Beasts movie, which was actually quite watchable. Well, that's it from me and Kit. We'll see you next week.
Oh, tell us what you think.
If you like us, click the like button. If you really like us, subscribe button. If you don't, well, troll us. We like the trolls.
No, even if you're not trolling, yeah, we would be interested in hearing what you think of our opinions or just of the movie. Okay, bye.